coming to me. Money is coming to me. Money keeps coming to me. Money is coming to me. Money is coming to me. Money keeps coming to me. Money is coming to me. Money keeps coming to me. Money is coming to me. I can just feel it.
Hey everybody, welcome to the 7-Figure Hustle. I'm your host, Toni J. This is the place where people tune in, future millionaires tune in to be inspired. We have two amazing people on today. I'm excited. We have Ms. Melanie Bazemore. You know, that's my co-host, and Mr. Don Balai, money management. So we're going to give you a couple of things that's going on that should be going on with your finances coming up 2021. Guys, whatever you did last year, 2020, regardless of what went on, we're going to tell you some of the things you need to do. Hey, Mel. Hey, Don. How are you?
Hello, everyone.
It's great to be here.
Good, great. So one of the things we're going to start off with, Mel, she helps with credit. And Don co-signs the fact that you need credit. So you guys take it from there. Tell us some of the things they need to know.
Well, awesome. And thank you, Toni J, for having us today on the 7-Figure Hustle Show. This is where you're going to get inspired. And we're going to just give some information. I'm so, happy to be here today and honored to be able to actually interview this next gentleman that I'm about to bring up. Because even through the journey that I have been on building credit and building financial literacy for myself, my home, and my community, it's always great to get extra nuggets on how to take those things that you're saving for and use them as investments so that we can build wealth. And wealth is all different levels for each and every one of us. So I don't want to scare you guys because a lot of us be like, well, I'm comfortable. But let's shake it up a little bit and get you out of uncomfortability so you can live the life of your dreams. So with that being said, I would like to bring up Don. And Don, you can give your full name and title and what you bring to the table by being a wealth expert.
Well, it's quite an introduction. Thank you. My name is Don Balai. I am the managing member of Southline Wealth Management. It is a private wealth management firm based out of West Windsor, New Jersey. I guess everybody's based out of their house these days, right? Because of the pandemic and closing businesses, and we're all trying to just make do as best possible. One of the things I like to focus on is everybody should have a plan in place. You don't have to be wealthy. You don't even have to have any money to form a plan, but you have to have a plan and able to head in the direction of making money. And if money comes your way, you'll be ready to deal with it. If you don't set up a plan and try to figure out how you're going to save, develop your wealth and your network of contacts to help you build that wealth and secure your job, you're probably not going to get there, or you're going to struggle for a long time before you do get there. So the most important function of anybody trying to build wealth is to develop a plan. Everybody's plan can be different, but the idea is to have a plan.
Awesome.
Yes. So definitely in financial literacy, we know that the first step is really understanding your credit and the ability to be able to control it and not just look at it as 3 digits that's haunting us. A lot of us be like, oh boy, last time I checked, I was in the 600s. Or you're at that 680 and you're saying, I thought that was good credit. But you need to know more what's happening with the economy and how that these factors actually change how credit is looked at. So Don, can you tell us a little bit how you feel the importance of credit is when you're setting up a financial plan to build some wealth for yourself?
Well, credit is incredibly important for a number of reasons. And there are ways to have good credit, and just like there are ways to have bad credit. And if you don't maximize your cards, if you keep your cards under the max limit and you pay on time, your credit rating is going to be very strong. So the key to that is live a little bit below your means. If you're making a certain level, live a little bit below that. The difference is savings. And the credit is becoming part of, or already is an integral part of the United States and how businesses work and how you're sold things. Life insurance, they look at your credit, your car insurance, your health insurance, all the insurances. If you want a mortgage, if you have good credit, you're getting a lower rate, which means you're paying more for your mortgage, for your car, for most things. If you have to carry debt on a credit card, which I advise to try not to do, but if you have to do it and you have good credit, your interest rate is going to be lower, so you're not going to be paying the same amount as someone with bad credit. It seems counterintuitive. Someone who's struggling should have a lower rate so they can not struggle. It's not how it works. If you're the more of a risk you are to defaulting, the higher the rate they're going to charge, which pushes you towards default by default. How's that for a twist? So you really should focus on limiting your debt. There's good debt and bad debt. Make sure if you have to have debt, it's good debt, a mortgage that has equity in a house, that has resale value someday down the road. It's good debt. Going out and buying the latest doodad for your apartment or house because you just want it on credit is bad debt. Save your cash. But you should definitely focus on having a strong credit report because everything revolves around it now.
Awesome. You know, that's the beauty of having different avenues tell you the same thing. So guys, we just want you to take this information. Don't just listen to us, but apply it into your life so that you can also be able to control your credit so you can get those lower interest rates and learn how to take advantage of having a healthy credit score. So Don, earlier we were talking and I loved your story about, you know, how sometimes we go out and we have this dream, especially of that career, you know, like myself, 30 years in the hair industry, but that life came into play and it actually shifted me back to being in the financial realm, which I once desired, but life threw me into a business platform of being a hairstylist, which was awesome. But it took a lot of time from my home life and, you know, time with my children. So I love the fact that after you get your credit good, you learn how to save. Give us some tips on what we can do with that savings to start building some wealth on other platforms.
Oh, that's a great place to start for someone who wants to become wealthy. If you have a job that's throwing off enough money to pay your bills and leave something left over, it gives you so much more flexibility than so many people in this country. So the first thing I always recommend is have an emergency fund. If you have an emergency fund, you won't have to then drain your investment accounts, whether they're 401k, IRA, or just a brokerage account where you're trying to buy the next great name and make yourself wealthy. If you have a period of market dislocation where the stock markets are down and you lose your job and don't have any income, or your hot water heater or your roof goes bad and you need money and you're forced to sell your equities or your investments when they're down, even if it's real estate investment, you're going to set yourself back dramatically in terms of your opportunity to grow your wealth. So you should always start with an emergency fund. And once you build up, and that should be at a minimum 3 months of cash. And I know it sounds like a lot, and it may take a while to get to for some people. That's a minimum. People have been out of work 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years during the financial crisis in 2008, 9, stretching into 10, 11. People out of work for quite some time. Whole careers and job industries have gone away with technology. And if you're in sort of ingrained in those technologies and your career goes away, what are you going to do without an emergency fund? So emergency fund is the place to start. And once you have that, then you should take some time, and while you're building that, you should take some time to learn about the areas that you're interested in investing. Investments can be buying real estate, fixing up real estate and renting and becoming a landlord, or just buying real estate investment trusts called REITs, R-E-I-T-S, where the real estate's owned and bought by professional investors who pay you dividends, and the dividends are terrific. You can buy stocks and bonds and mutual funds and ETFs and exchange traded funds, all kinds of things that are traded through brokerage firms and are a discount brokerage, Charles Schwab, TD Ameritrade, Robinhood, E-Trade, there's a number of them. So there's Fidelity, Vanguard, there are a lot of places to go with your money, and everybody's dropped their commissions. So you can trade for free, which doesn't mean you should overtrade, but you don't have to pay anymore for it. And you can start building a portfolio. You can invest in another line of business. I think the best way to become wealthy, hands down, is to have multiple income streams. If you have more than one income stream and one of those streams goes away, you're still getting income. If you have one job and the job goes away, you're on unemployment, then your unemployment benefits run out. So if you
I can definitely contest to that because of me having more than one stream of income, the pandemic didn't affect me as it would have affected me if I didn't. And what I mean by that is the same thing we've been shown with the interest rate, like you were saying, and having your credit score at a good credit rate. I and my neighbor kind of make the same amount, but I pay less than she do because my credit score is higher than hers. You know, I mean, the car that she has, and whatever. I'm not saying which neighbor, so which one of y'all neighbors, I'm not talking. I'm just saying, I'm making an example. You can have the same amount that your neighbor have and pay less for the same thing based on your credit score. And me being prepared when the pandemic hit, we were 3 months ahead of all of our bills. So, and with not being able to work, having a home-based business really helped. And talking to my coach here, Don Bella, and Melanie, she helped with the credit repair part of it. So it does make a difference what you have and what you know.
You know, Melody, to Tony J's point, people weren't expecting a pandemic. Maybe Bill Gates was. He's been talking about it for years, but the reality is no one knows when something like this is really going to come. And this thing came really fast. Mm-hmm. And if you have, everybody's complaining about how the billionaires are getting richer and the wealthy are getting richer, but they're getting richer because they had a capital reserve. And so when everybody is selling their investments in March and April at the market low, Dow 18,000, S&P down 30%, 35%, and people are selling, the wealthy just bought it all up because they had money. And they just keep buying. And they bought the real estate, they bought the businesses, they bought the stocks and bonds. And the markets come right back up due to an incredible amount of debt that the governments have taken on and the Federal Reserve has taken on. But that still made people with bank accounts and cash reserves wealthier. And so if you have a capital reserve or an emergency fund and your job is in place during the pandemic and money is still coming in and there's an opportunity to buy something really on a discount, that's how you get a big jump towards becoming wealthy. It's opportunistic, yes, but that's what investing is. Investing is taking advantage of opportunities that come around. And if it bothers people, if it bothers you, if you're really rich and other people aren't, then be charitable. It's tax deductible. So it's a win-win for everybody in that situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%, guys. So, take his advice, multiple streams of income. This is what we call passive income versus lineage. And that's basically saying stop trading all your time for the money and invest the money so it's bringing in income while you're sleeping, because you don't have to physically go anywhere to make an investment. You sit back at your comfort of your home and watch it grow, and then make the right decisions on how you want to take it to a next level of investments. Do you want to sell it and pull out some of your winnings, as I would call it, or your residual income and your passive income from that, so you can put back into the reserves and keep building and building. And this has just been so awesome, because even though I am in financial literacy, it's always good to just network and build with others that can help you build to your wealth of your dreams, because I may know how to get that good credit score, but now I can take that information and run with Don's recommendations. And then next year at this time, I'll be coming back from another place, another scenery, because I have now leveled up my lifestyle, even in tough times, because a lot of us get depressed. We have to take our emotions out of our financial mindset, because you have to think and be consistent on what your goal is. That's the only way you're going to achieve them. So, Don, with that being said, how do you basically go about protecting? Because we talked about credit, we talked about some ways to start investing. What other industry? I think the insurance way that we can also protect some of these assets and investments we're doing?
Absolutely. And it's another great point. That they always talk about this three-legged stool. You should have different legs supporting the stool. I always thought it was funny because if someone kicks one leg out, that stool's falling over. You really need a five-legged stool. And people keep kicking until their feet hurt, and then they give up. So you can't fall over. So if you have multiple income streams, that's terrific. If you have an emergency fund, that is a great leg on a stool. If you have life insurance, the industry gets a bad rap, mostly because a lot of insurance agents are on commission and they sell things they shouldn't sell to try to get a commission for themselves. And there's a lot of good and bad eggs in every business, mine and yours included. But you have to pay attention when you're spending money on something like that. But life insurance can be a great way to support yourself. Whole life insurance or index life insurance builds cash value that you can draw on later if you have an emergency. You can draw on it for emergencies. You can draw on it for long-term care insurance. If you need to, there's a lot of ways that you can leverage life insurance. Having a line of credit at your bank, whether it's unsecured or better secured because the rate's going to be lower, is another insurance piece for you. If you lose your job, you know you're going to get another one eventually. You don't know when. You don't want to lose your house, and you have some emergency funds, but you also have a line of credit you can lean on too. The roof goes bad, and you can't dump $10 or $15 or more $1,000 out of your pocket that day. You borrow the money, you pay it back. It's tax deductible in most cases to people for capital improvement. It's a way not to drain all of your cash. You should always keep cash, even if you have cash. If you have a big emergency, use your line and keep the cash, because as people found out in 2008, and I would warn that you should always keep cash, sometimes even using a line over cash. A lot of banks called their lines and closed lines of credit because the banks were in trouble. They didn't want to have the open debt. So if you had your line working, they weren't going to call it in most cases. So you could have your cash and have the line. So now you've got 4 or 5 legs on that stool, and you can build from there. Then you can start building a portfolio of retirement accounts and investment accounts, and that's another leg to fall back on. Yes, you can pull money out of your IRA and your 401k in emergency. Should you do it? Not unless it's a really last choice solution. And the reason is you're going to get older, if you're lucky, sooner than you think. And there's nothing worse than being elderly and tired and not wanting to work, but you have to.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of this country is in that sad shape, unfortunately. They're not working because they want to. They're working during a pandemic because they have to. That's a sad position for the richest country in the world to put its citizens in. And a lot of it is a lack of education. A lot of it is people can't control their spending. A lot of it is they watch TV and someone on TV has more than they do, or their neighbors have more than they do, and they want to keep up with the Smiths or the Joneses. And I could care less what the Smiths and Joneses are doing as long as they're not, running over my new lawn.
But Don, with that being said, tell our audience what is something that's minute that they can start, because most people say I can't invest. I don't have no money to invest. I can't buy no stocks. I don't know nothing about that. You turned me on to Cash App, and mostly everybody I know use Cash App. And I showed you what my gains were earlier on the show. So tell people, where they can start, the little things they can start to do with you if you're making $20,000 or $30,000 a year. Because that's what I'm only making $20,000, $30,000 a year. I can't save, I can't invest. So help us out with that.
It's really, I hear this all the time. I've heard it for 20 years. I run into people, there's no money left to invest. And if it's a woman sitting in front of me with beautifully decorated nails that she spent $200 on, piercings and earrings and tattoos and the latest clothes, and she pulled up in a brand new car that she's got a giant mortgage on, of course there's money left over. They're just burying themselves in debt, so there's nothing left over because of their debt. It's a choice. Unfortunately, in America, we have one of the largest problems of obesity in the free world, and it's because people eat poor choices of food, poor quality food, and eat too much of it. You go to a buffet and they slop the food on you, and people are happy. If you cut back on your eating, you save a lot of money on food. You can invest that money. You're not as sick. You're not going to the doctor. You're saving that money. You're not replacing your clothes that you're wearing out because you're beating them with your heavy body. You're feeling better. You're more energetic, so you can work more. So all of that leads to a much more prosperous lifestyle. It's a choice. People smoke, they drink, they gamble. Americans, the world loves to gamble. Americans love to gamble. Casinos, online betting. There are so many ways. They go to sporting events and spend $200, $300, $400 to eat lousy hot dogs, drink watered down beer, and throw popcorn at each other. It's a total waste of money. All you have to do to be wealthy, this is the easiest country in the world to be wealthy. It just takes, it's like making a diamond, it takes pressure and time, right? It's the same thing with building wealth. Mostly, unless you're making lots and lots of money, it takes time. But years ago, all you could put in an IRA was $2,000 a year. But if you put $2,000 in an IRA from the age of 25 to the age of 65, so that's $40,000 for your money you put in. You invested in the S&P 500 and got about 8% return. You had over $1.2 million by the time you were 65. Now you can put in $6,000, $7,000. You can have a 401k, put in $19,000, $26,000, depending on your age. You can put in large amounts of money. A young kid nowadays should be fabulously wealthy in 40 years. But it's a relative term because we still have inflation and money is going to be worth less in the future. It always has been, always will be. So you need more of it. But you can have so much more of it. You just have to give up some things and live within your means. That's really the key. And saving little bits and pieces at a time is so prosperous. In the beginning, it's miserable. Oh, I put in $50. Now I have $100 and $200. I'm broke. Sure, now. But later, that money rolls on itself. Investments pay dividends if you have the right type of investments. You get interest on your money, and that money grows. And the dividends from the next payment become bigger because you have more shares if you're reinvesting. And it grows and grows. It's called compounding. You want to compound or grow your wealth. My favorite little piece to give people, especially young people who are starting out, I tell them, take a penny, 1 penny, 0.01 cent, double it every day for 30 days. On the 31st day, if you double your money, and you really can't, but if you could, in just 30 days, you'd have over $10.5 million. That's the power of compounding. The first 20 days look like nothing. It's the last 10 and even the last 5 that explode. And that's what age is. The first, you're 20, you're 30, you're 35, you don't have a lot, but it's growing. And then at 40, that money grows and it's more. And then at 50, it's even more. And at 60 and 70, you become really wealthy. But you can't touch it. You can't blow it on sporting events. You can't go to Hawaii or Disney World because everybody's going and you want to go. Do what you can afford. People don't need a subscription to every television station. They don't need all the latest and greatest. People are wasting so much money because America is great at selling people things. The greatest country in the world at selling things. Our advertising machine has convinced you if you don't have it, you're a lesser person. And that's a shame because you don't need anything to be wealthy. You need money to be wealthy technically, but the real wealth is in your health. If you're not healthy, I don't care how much money you have. Steve Jobs was worth $30-something billion and he died. So wealth doesn't save people. You can live a little better while you're dying, but it's better to take care of yourself, be healthy, spend less money on healthcare. Doctors have plenty of money, and then invest that money and be healthy and wealthy. That's the best of both worlds.
Wow.
Wow.
I can't hear you, Mel. I can't hear you.
I can't hear you. Nope. Nope.
Well, anyway, while Mel was getting that together, with the Cash App, and I'm going back to Cash App because, like I said, just about everybody I know has Cash App, and that was the first thing. And I was surprised because I could buy a stock for $1, and I thought it was a joke when I first did it. But then I bought another stock for $1, and then I started getting returns. So then I upped it up to $5. So now I'm surprised at how much, and I'm getting companies paying me dividends every month. I didn't even know what a dividend was. I'm like, where this come from?
I love when people send me money for doing nothing. It's such a satisfying feeling.
I didn't know it was coming.
You give them some money and they do all the work and then they send you some residual. That's wonderful.
Money. So if I had more money, I would have had more money. But now,
if you start with a little, it grows to a lot. And there's so many, there's Acorns and Cash App and all these apps. You go to the market, you charge what you're buying, and they round up to the next whole dollar, and they take that extra and put it in a brokerage account or a savings account, and you invest it. And and you almost do it without thinking about it. And some of the wealthiest people in the world just have bought index funds, or they've just invested their money continuously and didn't look at it and didn't take it out and just kept rolling it up and had a good job, and they kept using their income to live. And the money just grows, and it takes off at some age. And the more you make, the quicker it can take off, but it can take off at any age if you are consistent. Consistency is the key to investing.
Wow, that's amazing, because, you know, and having an emergency fund, as you were saying earlier, makes all the difference in the world, because during the pandemic, we had some things we had to get done to the house. And by us having that emergency fund that I kind of forgot about, because I do that first. And it goes back to, I guess, what Mel used to always say, pay yourself first. And by, I guess, paying ourselves first, that became our emergency fund. So with that, as far as stocks is concerned, and you want to get into stocks, Don, tell us, what is one of the best ways to start? I mean, what are the rules of getting in the stock when you're beginning?
The number one rule to doing anything in any field, in any endeavor, is to read. The more you read, the more well-versed and well-informed you become, and the stronger you are in whatever industry you're going to be in. And most of the wealthy people in the world self-educate through reading. So reading is the first place to start. You should never just get some money and throw it into an investment because you heard that the taxi driver, your neighbor next door who has worse credit than you, or whoever, has a great idea. Peter Lynch used to say, if you don't know the difference between a microchip and a potato chip, don't invest in it. So you should know what you're putting your money into, and you do that by reading. And you should educate yourself. There are numerous websites, the Motley Fool, Yahoo Finance, Investopedia, where you can open up a fake brokerage account and put money in it and start to buy and sell things and see how it works out before you take your real money and flush it down the toilet. That's the number one thing. Putting real money to work, when you lose it right away, it jades a lot of people, and they don't want to be in the market. And a lot of people aren't in the market because they're afraid of the stock market, which always takes their money.
Right.
Index funds, and you're in the large mainline index funds, not some of the really far out kind of things, fringe type of investments. Now, you're never going to lose your money because they're diversified, and they kick out bad investments and put in great ones, and that's why they always go to all-time highs. It's all about staying in it during the bad times and adding more when things are down. I like to tell people my business is one of the few businesses in the world when there's a sale, people run screaming. You know, they should run in and buy. The Dow 18,000 in March, early April, people should have been buying in droves, and there were people buying. We were buying, but a lot of people were selling. That's how I know they were selling, because they were selling to us. They were selling to people with money and people who understand how markets work. And when you own something like a J&J or a Honeywell or an Apple, and it's 30% off, that's a gift of a lifetime. Buy as much as you can buy. 1 share, 10 shares, 100 shares, and then just sit on it. Let the market do its thing. Let it stop going down. Let it start going up. Matter of fact, hope it stays down a while and pays dividends so you can get more shares at a lower price. It's nice when they run up, but then your dividends are costly. You're getting less for your dividend. So
I think Mel's fixed her.
Is my mic back
Hey,
on?
Mel. Yeah, hey, Mel. Technology, right? Well, we got to wrap it up. It was awesome. We a little over past time, but this was an amazing show going into the 2021. And guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Melanie and Don. And we'll see you next month.
it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Seven Figure Hustle.
Thank you.
Peace out.
Money is coming to me. Money is coming to me. Money keeps coming to me. Money is coming to me. Money is coming to me. Money keeps coming to me.